The kid figured out a way around the system. The fact that he didn't electrocute himself or burn his house down, it's kind of, he was a really smart kid. He's now like, he's probably at Georgia Tech or somewhere. Like he's just a super smart kid. And there's a way around any single consequence. The only point to a consequence, and there's research to show you this, that a consequence is just a marker to show that our relationship is fractured. The consequence does not change the behavior. So when I say stop doing task-focused parenting, a consequence is a task-focused parent. It's just not going to work because the kid has to be invested. So how do you give a consequence? When do you give a consequence? When do you give a consequence?
Well, you usually give it after you witness behavior or actions that we consider to be wrong, so you don't want it to happen again, before they do it again.
Sure. And so for me, when their problem becomes my problem, that's my marker. At that point, I understand, like, your problem just became my problem. That's my marker that you're going to get a consequence. You're anxious. It's your problem. You smoke weed, now became my problem because I'm actually worried about what you're doing, you making really bad decisions while you're high, your safety, you getting arrested. All of a sudden, those became my problems. So your problem became my problem. Flag that you're going to get a consequence. You got to go to school. You don't go to school, now I have to stay home or make a decision about how to get you to school. Your problem became my problem. That's my marker.
We just decided earlier that's not a problem anymore.
Fair enough, but I'm just using...
It's my problem, but they threatened to take me to court because my son has missed too many days.
There you go.
Yeah. But
At that point, it just became your problem,
Yeah.
right? So those are just markers where you would want to think about giving a consequence. That's how I use my system. It's like, as long as you solve your problem in a way that it doesn't become my problem, I may not solve it the same way. But as you solve your problem, I'm good. As long as it doesn't become my problem. If it becomes my problem, then we're going to have a consequence. So how do you give a consequence? The first thing you do is listen. That's it. She shows up high, he shows up high, he comes, whatever he's doing, you just listen and you reflect. It could be if they're high and they're skipping curfew, it's like, oh, glad you're home. Look forward to having a conversation. That's it. That is it. You don't come out guns blazing first because they generally know when they've broken the rules. They know that. When a kid really kind of like, I didn't know I was getting a consequence for that. I love that phrase. Because in my head, I'm thinking, you do now, sucker. But they generally know when they've broken the rule. So they're prepared for the fight. They're defended in because they're going to try to convince you why they don't need a consequence. So don't come in guns blazing. Just be like, hey, it's good to see you. I look forward to having a conversation about this. That's it. Now we're 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours later. I'm aware of my eye contact, I'm aware of my body position, so I'm not making eye contact, and we're going to have a conversation about that, son. I'm not doing that. I'm sneaking up on him. Hey, so you missed curfew last night. Can you tell me what was going on?
I was hanging out with John.
Yeah, cool. Did you have a good time?
Kinda.
What'd you do?
Nothing.
Did you hang out with anybody else?
No.
Were you high?
No.
Well, you seemed high, so did you smoke anything good?
Huh?
Yeah, how'd it make you feel? And you go on and on. You're actually doing great as a teenager. Well done. Yeah. So you are going to get the stupid, you're going to get the stupid teenager conversation. What'd you do? Nothing. You're going to get that. But you're asking open-ended questions. Because what you're trying to do is seek their perspective. Why? Because you want to understand why they did the action. That's the actual problem. Yes, the action is kind of the issue, but why they did it is what we're trying to go after. That's what we're trying to correct. Like, put a muzzle on you and you're not going to smoke weed. Like, whatever. Like, that's not going to solve the problem. But I want to understand why you're smoking weed. I want to understand why you skipped curfew. I want to understand that first. So I'm literally curious. And I'm gonna ask you as many open-ended questions as I can take until your stupid teenage answers drive me nuts. At that point, I'm done. So I'm asking all these questions, you're giving me those stupid one-word answers. And I'm like, all right, thanks, good. And I'm done. I walk away. Because at that point, I'm in my red zone because you've pissed me off with all your stupid one-word answers. But I'm just trying to seek their perspective. That's all I'm trying to do. Now, we're 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. The time frame doesn't matter. So, hey, I understand that you were out the other day. You missed curfew. I appreciate that you were out with Johnny having a good time. So, you know that kind of created a problem. And I really would like some ideas, if you have any, on what you think you can do about that. And then I walk away. At that point, that's the marker that you're about to get a consequence. It will take him about 2 times to figure that out. But as soon as that phrase comes out of your mouth, he knows he's going to get a consequence. And I've opened the door. You can offer me solutions, or I'm going to give you some solutions. That's it. So now I'm 6 hours later. So this is literally a 2-day process to give a consequence. And I'm in control the whole time. As soon as you do something to piss me off, I exit out. Because I want to approach you every single time on a flat level key. Like I don't want to show you that I'm worked up. I'm in control of me. And then you get to the point of like offering the consequences. Would you like to give me your phone for a week or mow the grass for 2 weeks? Those things don't matter. Don't put a whole lot of time into figuring out. You can pull a resource or you can add work on. It doesn't matter. I try to give a choice. Would you like this or that? And let them pick. But the task doesn't matter. That's not what's going to change the behavior. It's the relationship that's going to change the behavior.
Can you speak to consequence post-SUWS?
Sure.
I understand in theory it doesn't make a huge difference, but like in relation to home agreements and things like that, or is that something that...
Sure. So in a home agreement, you're writing your home agreement. Your home agreement is basically 5 things. Go to school, don't do drugs. If you're a religious family, you go to church, you participate in the family / speak to me in a respectful tone, and you keep your room clean. It's 5 simple values. That's it. If you write a 3-page contract, if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that, if you threaten with a consequence, if you walk out of this house, this is going to happen, you will get the non-desired activity. If you threaten a kid, if you threaten anybody, an oppositional person, if you do this, then that's going to happen. You're immediately going to step up to the plate to the challenge. It's like, all right, let's see. If you walk out of the house, like, see ya, you going to follow through? So in a contract, you don't threaten. If you don't go to school, then you're going to lose this. Because I would just want to see if you're going to follow through.
That feels foreign to me to try to even do that because it trivializes almost any behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you,
what is the ultimate? You're going to go back to SUWS or worse?
yeah, I mean that's up to you guys, but you don't want Junior to know all the potential consequences. It's like
so that's not part of
just not part of the contract, and you don't list every negative behavior because you're never going to close all the loopholes.
most of them you wouldn't. I don't mean to be too specific,
You're good.
but you're going to maintain a BA. Just go to school.
Yeah,
You're going to go to school because
Yep.
you have to, and you're going to go to counseling.
yeah.
You're going to stay drug free. That's really
That's pretty much it. If you say like you're going to maintain a B average, Junior will get C's just to see if you'll cave. Well, I tried really hard, and he's going to put you in a box just to see it. So it's like, no, you're going to go to school. It's like they're just like a home contract should be fairly simple. If you have 4 pages, it's way too long. It's way too long. It's literally like the front of 1 page.
It's interesting because as you were going through that, we kind of, Helena was screwing up and went ahead and kind of said, okay, I kind of wrote a contract, not knowing any of this type of thing, but it basically was, you did this, here are the consequences, here are our expectations, and it really boiled down to, you're gonna be pleasant around the family. You're going to graduate high school. Gotten past the point now already where I'm like, you're gonna go to college,
Right.
you're gonna do great. I've just resigned to the fact, let's just get to high school.
Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna get to high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, just, and followed those things, and I didn't even know to figure those out.
Mm-hmm.
We brought it, so we want you, I'd love for you to read through it.
Sure.
And see where, because literally a week after she signed this,
It was out the window.
it fucking exploded.
Well, that's when she
Yeah.
ended up drinking and going nuts, so
Mm-hmm.
it was very weird.
But I thought we did I mean, it's almost identical to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And we held those, but we did not state what the consequence was.
You don't want to.
And we just said, and she said something like, oh yeah, what can be worse than me losing the phone in the car? And I was like, oh, you have no idea.
And we didn't even have this in the back of our mind, but we were.
Well, I had something like this in the back of my mind.
So you have 3 types of consequences, right? Natural, logical, and punitive. You get one of those as parents. What do you get?
Punitive.
No, you get logical. Punitive is push-ups, sit-ups, tying them, beating them. That will get DSS called on your ass. None of you want that. And frankly, if you beat your kids, I'll call DSS on you. Natural consequences. This will show up in your kids' lives, but my experience with SUWS parents is they rescue their kids from natural consequences. You know, he wants to borrow the car, ask for some gas money, give him 20 bucks to put gas in the car. He goes and buys a dime bag of weed. He knows he's going to get the munchies, so he goes and buys some Doritos and some Mountain Dew afterwards. He doesn't have any money for gas. He runs out of gas. That's the natural consequence. Parents, SUWS parents, then, oh my God, he broke down on the side of the road. Oh no. You jump in the car, you bring over gas, you rescue him. And it's like, no, you just let the natural consequence, you killed it. So when you see natural consequences happening to your kids, because they will happen, get your popcorn, get your soda, sit back and watch the show. You know, just let it happen. You get this, logical consequences. And by logical consequences, so like, you know, they may lose their phone, they may lose their Xbox or their game system, they may lose whatever. Those are all logical consequences. And they don't have to be one for one. Well, they were texting, so therefore they have to lose their phone. Or it's like, well, they were, you know, talking back to me, so therefore they lose their, like, you can, it doesn't really matter what that is. Like, it can be logical. Just don't beat your children and don't rescue them from natural consequences. Yes?
I have a question, getting back to the consequences and the example over here where you said, you know, okay, well, do you think we should take your phone or do you
Yep.
think we should mow the grass? So, if we did that with Durant, he would never mow the grass.
Yep.
Like, is there, so if he doesn't ever mow the grass, we.
So hey, you are lobbing me a softball, which I really appreciate, because we're still talking about consequences.
Then I have a question about the phone aspect too. 'cause we've
Okay.
done that too. Okay, so yes, so the grass.
Okay, so you all have, you probably have already done this. You have the resource list, right? You've even talked about it. Durant doesn't have any resources. So you've probably all made this. You are kings and queens of your castles. Everything that your child has is because you bestow it upon them. Phone, internet, you know, Wi-Fi, privileges to use the family card, the option to have a family card, the option to have a job, cash, the option to go hang out with friends and freedom, the freedom to have experiences that they want, you know, whatever it is, it wants to go to Comic-Con, whatever, to go to the mall. Everything that you allow them to have, those are resources. You say that Durant doesn't, like, he doesn't have any, there's nothing there. He doesn't want anything. Is that true?
When he wants things, but he is very strong-willed, and if we withhold things, he's like, that's fine, I'll sit in my room
Yep.
and do nothing. I will, yeah.
Which is there are a few of those kids, and they are much, much harder. The rest of your kids, generally, they want something. And if you don't know what it is, you ask them, hey, bud, I really want to help you get what you want in life. So what do you want? I want this, I want this. Oh, is that all? Oh, what about that? Yeah, you want a car? Okay. What's the most important thing? Like, which one of those things do you want? And it's generally kind of, depending on the age, but like phone, car, money, freedom, you know, whatever. So, you know, make that list, and then you can make your work list. And your work list is basically crap you don't like to do around the house. And that can be in hierarchy too. Like, you know, I think you said you were the chef. like I love to cook. I don't mind cleaning my kitchen, so that's pretty low. But I hate cleaning bathrooms. So that's really high. You know, so I'm gonna put my work list of basically things I don't like to do around the house in hierarchical order. Yes, sir.
Resource, could you put a penis on there?
You could. That may be important for some. Yeah. Like every kid is unique and every kid is different.
I
So.
think that's the problem, that's what she wants.
Okay.
We
Mhm.
can't give it to her.
Okay.
And it's-
Yep. Absolutely. Like every kid wants different things. And there are some kids that really can pull off Gandhi and just like, I don't want anything. Like, I want this stuff, but if you withhold it, like, that's fine. So, but recognize like, when I give consequences, I generally kind of offer one of these and one of these, but it doesn't really matter. Now what happens? Like, all right, go rake the leaves for an hour. Yeah, no. Okay. So how many, will you give a consequence for not doing a consequence? That was a big sigh.
We never assigned him, well, I don't think I've assigned him work as consequences because I think in the back of my mind, I know that that's easy for him to have, like he can do it or he cannot do it. So I just avoid that by not selecting that option.
So, all right, so let's say they don't comply with the consequence, which is what your question really was. Like, if they don't comply with the consequences, does anybody consequence for not doing a consequence?
Usually you just give up at some point.
Yeah. So I'm good for 2. Like, I will consequence it for not doing one consequence, but if I'm giving a consequence for not doing a consequence because you didn't do the other consequence, at 3 deep, I'm like, this clearly is not working. That is a clear indication to me that my relationship is totally fractured. They just don't give a shit. And at that point, I have 0 influence, and I know that. So at that point, I pull all the resources. And my language is, if you're not willing to do a consequence, that means you're not willing to participate. Back to that whole family, the 5 kind of family contract thing, and the idea being, you're not participating in the family. So if you're not going to participate in the family, why do you get any resources of enjoying this family?
Basically SUWS, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But where I find, like when I show up in parents' houses, or so my wife runs a transition program, she does what I call home invasion. She'll go into families' homes and watch this unfold. Parents often shortchange how many resources they provide for their kids. And it's like, no, we're a fan of like pulling everything, which can be SUWS, but it can also happen in your home.
Yeah.
So, but recognize you give everything. So if you get to him not doing a consequence, like I'd go one more and then I'm like, you're not going to get anything then.
So one time we took his phone and then he took Lance's work stuff and
Absolutely.
hid it for 4 days and wouldn't tell us where it is.
Mhm.
But, and then also if we took everything, then he starts tearing up the house and that's when we just walk away and let him tear up the house, call the police, whatever we do in our
Yeah, and so
recommended plan.
Yeah, and so ultimately what he is consistently showing you is that he can't operate in your home environment. Like consistently. Every example you're giving me, he pushes it to such an extreme and it's over everything. Like honestly, what he is showing me is he cannot exist in your home environment.
So let me ask you this question. So we have a rule at night, you can't keep your phone at night.
Yep.
And usually he's good.
Yep.
Like he'll go through weeks where he'll go and put it in my bathroom
Yep.
charging, which is awesome.
Yep.
But before he came here, then lately it was like, okay, I want it in the hall outside your bedroom door, which is fine. And I don't think he's getting it at night,
Mhm.
like with some, but then he's getting it closer to his bedroom.
Mhm.
But it stays there all night, but I don't, like, because I knew he was coming here, I didn't fight that battle.
Mhm.
But, like, is that something, should I have said no? It's, because I never specified it has to be in my room, just what we had said, but you can't have your phone in your room all night. Like, would that have been, should I have said no, it goes in my room? Or does it matter where the phone is? Is it just a semantic debate about?
For me, the phone doesn't matter where it is as long as it's not in his room.
Okay,
And-
that's what I was.
And so I am going to talk about technology and kind of like everything has a curfew, including the phone. Do I really care if it's in the hallway or in a bucket or in your bathroom? No, but it's not in his room. That's important. So, you know, if it's really important to you, go ahead and fight that battle. I'm not gonna fight that battle. As long as it's somewhere, and I'll let him, hey, buddy, you know you gotta turn your phone in every night. Where do you wanna put it? And I'd probably have a bucket or a basket. Like, where is this basket gonna live? You show me, that's fine. I'm just not gonna get in a power struggle where the basket exists.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in terms of this, like the idea is like if he's not doing a consequence for a consequence, at that point I pull every resource. And I really challenge you to look at all the things you give your kids. You really do give them a lot of stuff. And so parents often shortchange the idea. It's like, well, I've pulled all the resources. Like, well, you know, they're still working on the Wi-Fi or whatever it is. And again, for me, it's more a marker that I need to double down on my relationship building and do whatever I can on that, because I know my tasks, my consequences aren't working. And the consequences don't work because I haven't really generated the relationship where Junior feels invested in this. Because Junior has to buy in. For a consequence to work, Junior has to buy in, period. So you have your resource list, you have your work list, and you just kind of, I pick one or the other and let it ride. So the other place that parents shortchange themselves with consequences is parole. That's it. You know, you're grounded or whatever you use the language for the summer. Whew, that's a long time. Because what happens for your lives when you give consequences? Your lives suck. So give, again, understanding that consequences don't change behavior. Start small and start with the ones that you can actually follow through with. So it's like if you know your habit is like, oh, I'm gonna pull the phone for I wanna pull the phone for 2 weeks, but you know you have a habit of he's gonna be good for a week or she's gonna be good for a week and you're gonna give the phone back, don't go for 2 weeks. Go start with 3 days and then, you know, give it back. All right? But start small and understand what is in your circle of control. What you can do. All right, I pulled your phone, but he's going to, you know, Ashley or whoever, he's going to his buddy at school trying to get another phone. That's not in your control. So you do what's in your control. You do not give the phone back. You do not let him off for good behavior. Because does anybody parole? Does anybody change their consequences like halfway through?
We have not followed through with Elena.
Okay, so you probably all have a pattern of how long you can last. And again, your kids are brilliant. They know your pattern. It's like, okay, my dad's good for 4 days. And I know he's good for 4 days. So they'll actually start planning ahead. If I do this now, that's 8 days ahead of time of what I want to do next. So I'm actually going to get out of, like, he'll ground me for 2 weeks, but he's only good for 4 days. I'll actually get out of parole or be paroled to then go do what I want. They will play your pattern. They're that smart. It's kind of awesome to watch. It's like, these kids are geniuses. So don't set yourself up for failure. Now, what do you do for fun, Lance?
Play tennis.
Great. So let's pretend you have a tennis match this weekend. He does something that you're going to consequence him over for the weekend. But you're off at a tennis tournament. Don't give the consequence for this weekend because you're not around and you're not involved. Give it next weekend when you don't have a tennis tournament or whatever it is. Understand that your life is going to suck while you're giving the consequence because you kind of got to be around. So just plan ahead to accommodate your schedule. If you've got a trip planned, don't give the consequence over that trip. It's just not how it works. Treat yourself with some kindness because it's going to make your life miserable if you're trying to execute a consequence when you're off trying to have a good time. It's like, oh, are they following through? Like your brain waves are going to get eaten up by worrying about them. You're not having not so much fun anymore. So don't parole, okay? Follow through. No means no, yes means yes.